Hey guys, once y'all start becoming awake, you realize that America is a nation. It's actually almost the exact opposite. We've incorporated pretty much all of the paganism of Babylon into our everyday traditions, okay? And then either put the name of just, oh, well, it's just fun, we've been doing it forever, or we'll put the name of Jesus on it. Let's start off with birthdays. I'm an astrologer, but that does not mean doing all this birthday stuff. That's the rituals that you do during a sun conjunct sun transit, in other words, your birthday, is not a part of anything I'm gonna do anymore. Okay, let's just start off with. It doesn't contradict anything. The Gospel and the Stars is a book that clearly shows that Psalm 19 is saying the constellations tell the story of the Gospel, and Mark, whole book of Mark, is about astrology. Those are two previous videos I've already made. Anyway, the goddess Artemis, which is the daughter of Zeus, upon her birth asked her father for 6 wishes, which he granted, like staying a virgin, never marrying, have a silver bow and arrow, and obtaining a group of nymphs. Associated with her sweet demeanor, Artemis was honored every year on her birthday with sweet honey cakes baked in the round shape of the moon, because she's the goddess of the moon. And the candles adorned the cake to represent the glow of the moon. And then the smoke of the candles traveled up to the gods to appease them. And as tradition grew, ritual and mythology combined into one, and the Greeks would try and blow out all the candles, just like we do, at once, causing a great plume of smoke to rise up to Artemis. Okay, so, and then we gotta pray to her for our wishes, as Zeus had granted her hers. Okay? And might I say that the Greek word for demon is actually daemon, which means distributor of fortunes. The Arabs called them genies, the Celts called them fairies. We call them, fairy goddess mother, like spirit animal, all that stuff is not from the Bible, obviously. It's from the Babylon. And that's why Jehovah's Witnesses don't really celebrate birthdays, but they're wrong about a lot of other things. Um, doesn't mean they're wrong about birthdays. Now, let's look at Easter, okay? Ishtar, which is pronounced Easter, was a day that commemorated the resurrection of one of the gods they called Tammuz. Let's stop right there. First of all, where did we get Tammuz from? In Ezekiel 8, God is talking to Elijah and says, "Behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz." Do you see the abominations that they do? And then it says he saw people worshiping the sun towards the east, just like Easter is the east. And when is Tammuz's birthday? December 25th, okay? We've incorporated so much. What's 9 months before December 25th? March 25th, which is pretty much Easter, okay? I'll go into that in a second. Here's the whole family lineage. Nimrod is actually mentioned in Genesis 10. Cush begat Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one on the earth. He was a mighty hunter. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, which turns into Babylon. And Nimrod became a god-man to the people, and Semiramis, his wife and mother, became the powerful queen of ancient Babylon, etc., etc. Baal was actually present on earth to them in the form of a flame. Like they worshipped the flame and sacrificed their kids to him, in order to appease the gods. And then Semiramis is setting herself up as a goddess, and then she's claiming she was immaculately conceived, and she taught that the moon was a goddess that went through a 28-day cycle and ovulated when full. Then she claimed she came down from the moon in a giant moon egg that fell into the Euphrates River. That's where we get the eggs from. It also this was to have happened at the time of the first full moon after the spring equinox. Semiramis became known as Ishtar, pronounced Easter, and her moon egg became known as Ishtar's egg. Okay, then they brought forth another son. She brought forth a son called Tammuz, and he was fond of rabbits. And they became sacred in the ancient religion. The Druids have like an egg. Oh wait, that's something else. The Druids have an egg necklace, which has to do with the eggs. Anyway, then Tammuz was killed by a wild pig, and then the Queen Ishtar said that, well, Tammuz now ascended to his father Baal, and the two of them would be the worshippers in the sacred candle or the lamp flame as Father, Son, and Spirit. Now Ishtar was worshipped as the mother of God and Queen of Heaven. And then they told the worshippers that Tammuz was killed by a pig. and some of his blood fell on the stump of a tree, and the stump grew into a full new tree overnight. This made the evergreen tree sacred to the blood of by the blood of Tammuz. So she proclaimed a 40-day period of time of sorrow each year prior to the anniversary of the death of Tammuz. That's Lent. There's nowhere in the Bible it says, put a cross on your forehead and do Lent. This is all taken from paganism. Here's the thing. Worshippers were to meditate upon the sacred mysteries of Baal and Tammuz and to make the sign of the T in front of their hearts as they worshipped. Don't do that cross stuff. The Catholics do it because it's pagan. They also ate sacred cakes with the marking of a T or a cross on the top. We don't need to be doing physical actions. God is in our heart. God is a spirit and should be worshipped as such. That's what the Bible says. So every year on the first Sunday after the first full moon, after the spring equinox, a celebration was made. It was Ishtar Sunday and was celebrated with rabbits and eggs in the ancient pagan religion. It's proclaimed that because Tammuz was killed by a pig, the pig must be eaten on the Sunday anyway. We have the Easter ham. Okay? And they actually use the word Easter in King James Bible instead of Pesach because in Acts chapter 12 it says that the evil King Herod was planning to celebrate Easter, not the Christians. Okay? Passover and Easter sometimes coincide, but in some years they had been a great distance apart. Here we go. God's a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth, not in rituals anymore. So the 40 days of Lent, the eggs, the rabbit, the hot cross buns, and the Easter ham have everything to do with the ancient pagan religion of Mystery Babylon. Okay? And then, of course, they honor Baal by looking towards the east, worshiping the sun. Okay? And then they have colored eggs and rabbit stories as they did in ancient Babylon. Okay, this isn't a joke. All right, you got Ezekiel talking about don't worship Tammuz. Look how they desecrated the temple. His birthday happens to be Christmas, which I've already made a video on. Christmas is pagan. And then you got Artemis with the birthdays. And now let's go to Halloween real quick. This was actually much more obviously satanic, of course, but I saved it for last because there's still some interesting stuff in it. Celtic festival of Samhain was observed on October 31st at the end of the summer. The souls of the dead were supposed to revisit their homes on this day, and the autumnal festival required sinister significance, with ghosts, witches, goblins, black cats, fairies, and demons of all kinds said to be roaming about. It was the time to placate the supernaturals controlling the processes of nature. It's thought to be the most favorable time for divinations, and it was the only day in which the help of the devil was invoked for such purposes. Okay? It actually came from strong Irish Catholic settlements, and then thousands of them migrated to America during the potato famine and brought their customs with them. All right? It's actually a national holiday in Ireland with fireworks, and kids are even out of school for a whole week. Okay? Here's the story of the jack-o'-lantern. Irish Jack explains the jack-o'-lantern. According to legend, a stingy drunk named Jack tricked the devil into climbing an apple tree for an apple. Then he cut the sign of a cross into the trunk of the tree to prevent the devil from coming down. Jack then forced the devil to swear he would never come after Jack's soul. The devil agreed. But when died, the gates of heaven turned him away, and so did the devil. And since Jack had no place to go, he was condemned to wander the earth. But as he was leaving hell, he happened to be eating a turnip. The devil threw a live coal at him. He put the coal inside the turnip and has since forever been roaming the earth with his jack-o'-lantern in search of a place to rest. Eventually, pumpkins replaced turnips since it's much easier to symbolize the devil's coal inside of a pumpkin. This is obviously not Christian, but I'm just showing you how America just takes any little pagan holiday and just says, oh, well, let's start doing this. Anything to deceive us is their job. All right? It was actually also a day when ancient witches, starting with trick-or-treating, had to steal materials needed for their festivals and their potions and stuff. The Druids say that the ghosts were thought to throng about the house of the living, and they were greeted with a banquet-laden table. At the end of the feast, masked and costumed villagers representing the souls of the dead paraded to the outskirts of town, leading the ghosts away. Okay? So it was actually advantageous to wear the costumes because you could hide from the ghosts. And it was to scare away the ghosts or to keep from being recognized. In Ireland especially, people thought that ghosts and spirits roamed after dark on Halloween. They lit candles and lanterns to keep the spirits away, and wore masks to frighten them off. Another thing about masks and costume is in traditional shamanism, people would dress up as an animal, either to communicate with the spirit world or to attract and absorb the power of that animal, represented by the mask and the costume worn. Okay? That's all Celtic Druid stuff. Stuff was all before Christ, and we're still trying to do it and say we're Christian. Oh, well, it's all fun and games. Just because your intent is fun, the Babylonians' intent was fun too, but they still had a reason why it turned into fun. Anyway, let's see. The trick is that is related to the idea that ghosts and witches created mischief on that particular night. If the living didn't provide food or treats, then the spirit would trick the living, and people feared terrible things that might happen to them. Okay, and it's pretty much that simple. They would seek vengeance, those evil spirits, if you didn't give them candy. All right? Um, and fruits and nuts were also part of the Roman harvest feast of Pomona, the goddess of fruit. And cider was drawn in the Romans, bobbed for apples, which was part of a divination that supposedly helped a person discover their future marriage partner. Every little circus, event and all those customs are not just from nowhere. It wasn't made in 1950 and now we're still doing it in 2015. It was made 4,000 years ago. It was the paganism that the Jews were killed for by the Old Testament God. Try and get this book, The Facts on Halloween. You can study a little more. Easter is pagan, Christmas is pagan, birthdays are pagan, but astrology is hidden in the book of Mark, and it's hidden in Psalm 19, and it's everywhere. But the customs associated with the days of the birth should not be celebrated. Okay, I mean, this is all straight goddess Artemis with the 6 wishes, and you get what you want. Wishes are all about self, Christmas is about self. What presents do I get? What treats do I get on Halloween? How many eggs and candy do I get on Easter? It's not about Christ at all, obviously now. And it's the age of information, so we really have no more excuse as true Christians to keep celebrating this type stuff. The devil isn't going to come down with a pitchfork and horns and look scary like a demon. He's going to say, well, I am Christ, and this is what we should be doing. No, it's the false Christ. John spoke of another Jesus being incorporated into our religion, and this is what it is. America is the daughter of Babylon, okay? And that's why it's going down very soon. All right. Study up, y'all. Ain't nothing else to do.